everyone, it's Betty again. I just wanted to introduce my video where I'm gonna review, John Galliano for Maison Margiela Spring Summer 2019 Couture, and I just wanted to discuss the specific vision of almost like a cyber pop dystopia, and just talk about what we're living with as a culture, as a people, as a society, and yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. You know, dressed up to party. So, and I'm just gonna pause as we go, sync the videos up when I'm done. All right, what have we got? We've got a crazy kaleidoscopic view, and after we adjust our eyes, it is clear to us that the the goddamn runway is not being filmed. Rather, a mirror that makes up the floor of the runway is being filmed. What are we seeing? Well, it's the same thing that we will see at the end of the runway show, actually. We are seeing the reflection in the mirrored runway of the models doing their walks, and we're seeing this crazy background that we'll see is actually at the back of the runway. And we see this crazy print that is not only the background and the ceiling, but also on the garments. Plus, we get to see two versions of the model's shoes. If we rewind to where the mirror is being filmed, you'll see that the only part of the model's actual body you can see down here are the shoes. So, this mirror jumps out to us, and so does the background and the print. Where does that put us? Into this crazy kaleidoscope, mirror funhouse of like, God knows what. It's a moment where we're visually overstimulated by what has been made not simply visible, but hyper visible, by what has been made far too visible. And that's what we're faced with. We're faced with a moment in which, you know, there's so much going on visually that it becomes nothing. It basically becomes, Galliano's basically taken this print and used it ad nauseum until it's become almost a neutral. And he'll use it as such because coats, I feel like coats connote neutrality, at least print-wise. So just note that print, keep that in mind. We'll see where this leads us, because you know, this is a couture show. Couture is not ready to wear. There is going to be a visual narrative arc to this show that we're gonna decipher. One more thing before we move on is that fucking poodle. More on that later. Or maybe not, I don't know. Let's get to that poodle. Let's print. What are we seeing? We're seeing tassels. We're seeing these cutouts at the bottoms of the legs. They're back here. Look at that fucking poodle. Look at this. We suddenly have these big glimmering flowers on the print. And what is the print actually? Well, it's just like the poodle, which is also a part of the print and a kind of a protagonist in the show in its own way. It's a 3D rendered digital image in some kind of program like AutoCAD, Maya, or Rhino. It looks kind of like Maya maybe. But the poodle looks like something ready to be 3D printed. And we've got this digitally rendered image, which is rendered in a hypothetical, 3D space. I don't know if any of you have ever used Rhino, but it's like an XYZ coordinate plane that you can make things in. And then it looks like that's been flattened into a print. But then it's been made three-dimensional once more by being brought into the real world and put onto a garment, because garments are inherently made to be viewed in the round. And I'm also very interested in the color of this poodle. Let's keep it rolling. It's that crazy shade of blue. The shaded blue of this American Apparel belt that I have. It is the shaded blue of this scary cardigan that I have. It is that scary, crazy shade of blue that's hard to look at when you see it as a neon sign or Christmas lights. We can call it a lot of things. Cobalt, blue screen, or I just usually think of it as International Klein Blue, in honor of 20th century artist Yves Klein. Moving on though, we've got suddenly, at 1 minute and 18 seconds, the color black enters the discourse generated by this. And what does the color black do? It throws us totally off kilter. We've kind of, at this point, a minute into the show, assimilated to the show's visual language, which is big, bold, all over, crazy, hyper digital prints. And suddenly we have black. So it's flipped it. Instead of hyper saturated imagery being visible and neutrals being invisible, it's the other way around. It's kind of the opposite of what happened during the anti-fashion movement. Kind of interesting. It's literally a moment of reversal. I don't actually know if that's true. I have to think about that more, because if we're coming out of the 80s and moving into the 90s with grunge and minimalism, isn't minimalism more visible than a Versace, like, weird gold foliage? Maybe it's a not a parody, but a reincarnation of that. Maybe. Anyways, we've come to black. We've also come to look at the back of this model. We got a bow in the hair. What does that mean? A bow in the hair. It's kind of Jacobean. It's kind of like 18th century French Revolution, American Revolution, vaguely founding father-y. We've got dreads here. Later we're gonna see the same bow and a rat tail. We've also got headgear. A lot of headgear. Tactical headgear. This look I find very interesting because so much is happening. So we've got this green headgear on top. We've got this green leopard print collar. We've got that poodle making another appearance here. And we also have this, the print seems to be more legible. The print evolves over time, and it's something that's almost legible as like a landscape or a real image. And then we've got that crazy blue color here, and then the shoes. The shoes. Now that we've got to the shoes, I'd like to just talk about those fucking shoes. John Galliano, you know, he has some very big shoes to fill, considering he's the creative director of Maison Margiela, as in Maison Margiela, as in how can anyone live up to the tabby boot? I would, if I was him, I just wouldn't try, but I'm not him, he's him, and we've got this weird Mary Jane clown shoe. Let's take a look at a few more examples of that. A great one is coming up. I would never put that shoe on my foot, but it's actually, I'm gonna call them Mary Janes, I don't know if they're actually called, quite a versatile style that is being emphasized repeatedly over the course of this collection. That's, honestly, you can do a lot with that. You can make it plain, you can make it a platform, you see that he actually plays with the sole of the shoe a lot in this show. He plays with the print, he plays with the finish, the color, the material. It could be one of his signature shoes from Margiela. I don't know if it'll come back seasonally. I honestly have not been paying attention to shoes very much for some reason. But here I am commenting on this shoe. He kind of gives like a weird ugly sneaker effect in a few of them, the ones with the big soles, not those. Honestly, back to that harness, that Alix, it looks like that Alix harness that I read a Sense magazine article about earlier, except this harness is on the head. That's very interesting that there's so much emphasis on the head and the feet here. And we have this black outfit where we're being introduced to this big blue harness that matches the poodle, these gigantic blue tassels. I'm just gonna rewind so we can look at that again. And wow, like that's quite a look, honestly. It's scary. And so what do we have emphasis on? This is like the best way to show it. The head, the feet, the body is like gone. Also notably, there are no arms. A lot of these garments do not allow for any movement of the arms. None. We do a lot of things with our arms, so we can kind of read into that and say, what does restricting the arms do? Well, a lot of things. Also, the hairstyles in this, absolutely dystopian. This look right here kind of looks like it has flies on it, but so when you deny use of the arms, it's kind of like, it emphasizes one, forward motion, the feet walking, which is exactly what these models are doing. It kind of gives you, like this look right here is a great example, more room, like this poodle here, to throw on prints into place where the arms would be. It distorts the body in a really crazy way. You know, you can use fashion to emphasize, distort, hide, change the body. Galliano's really doing that. And like even this look here, the arm movement is just restricted on this look. It kind of is like, it's a denial of use of our most useful appendages. We make music with our hand, we play music with our hands, we make art with our hands, we eat with our hands, we even communicate with our hands and we gesture. And a lot of these looks are have no hands, and kind of gives me straitjacket vibes. We could read more into that later. It's kind of a mystery along with that poodle. So we've got this velvet blazer here, we've got a skirt. We're getting into more neutral colors. It's interesting that neutrals are the only thing that is like, that pops out against this background. Color and prints are basically lost in this, but neutrals pop out, and the fact that the background is a digitally rendered image also gives you a lot of food for thought, considering like the nature of the digitally rendered image. Anyone read Efflux? I don't know, kind of like in defense of the poor image. No, but whatever, anyways. So what have we got? We've got some level of tailoring. We've got a belted coat here. We've got these cutouts in the legs that make these culottes look like basketball shorts. Every look's got these shoes. We've got more headgear. And this belt I find really interesting because usually the belt on a coat is used to emphasize or reveal the body or the shape of the body. But here, in a lot of these looks, the belts on the coats rather obscure the body. So let's keep it going. No arms, emphasize, oh yeah, restricting arm movement and eliminating arms and armholes from this couture show emphasizes feet, which also emphasizes those shoes. So back to those goddamn shoes. I keep thinking about this poodle, it's a little bit harrowing. I feel like this guy must look at Japanese street style a lot. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people do, but this show really just has that energy for me. We've got this mysterious feather fringe. There are a lot of actual like feather fringes in here, especially on the print heavy pieces. Oh my god, I love this piece that's coming up next. This one, okay. But the feathers, very feather boa, you know. This is a great example of the way in which this like neutral black fabric is used to frame the print and that harrowing, scary poodle, like the vignette on like a third style Pompeian villa, you know. Very interesting. I love New York, and boom, that rat tail I was talking about with a little bow. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm still impressed with how versatile a shoe this is though. You get ugly sneaker out of it, you get cybergoth out of it, you get a lot out of it. These looks that are coming up with the cutout panels and all the absent tailoring, the lack of finish, missing panels, unhemmed, you know, it's very, this look is just fucking scary. It's very 90s anti-fashion, and I might be projecting because I rewatched that YouTube, the documentary. It's on YouTube, I'll link it below, on 90s anti-fashion. Everyone should see it. Again, no arms, very vampiric, but then those khaki culottes. Yeah, 90s anti-fashion. And suddenly, boom, we got a tailored look. I might be projecting, but I was sitting at the airport drinking Bloody Marys, and I was like, gotta do something, so I did that for an hour. Anyways, here I am, back to this. We have a tailored look, a very clean look. And this look is honestly something I'd expect to see in a ready-to-wear collection, but here it is in a couture collection, which means that this look should be, on some level, legible in the context of this couture show. And what have we been given in this couture show? Prints, neutrals, crazies, lack of tailoring, unfinished pieces, vague grunge, digital, cybergoth, kaleidoscope, circus, funfair, a poodle. And suddenly we get these gross elf pants. I don't mean gross in a bad way. Those shoes again, and this wonderful little blazer. It strikes me as strange because, you know, there's a sequence. If we wanted us to see all these looks at the same time, he would have just arranged the models in a circle, but he didn't. There is a narrative arc, and that trench coat is another part of the narrative arc. I don't know how to read those in the context of the show, but I'm working on that. I think that's very interesting. I think that this sudden, it's a shock. Like, hyper-saturation of images makes the plain image so much more compelling to me. At least, you know, the calm after the storm almost. We got these pants again. This model doesn't know how to walk, unfortunately. He looks mad. He's got that rat tail, he's got that bowl cut, and then now we've got this. Eventually we're gonna get to this look that's, you know, I don't have much to say about this look. Satin though, kind of like those blazers that are lined in satin. Love this one for some reason. I love the cut of that jacket and that little founding father rat tail. This look, what can she do with her arms? She can maybe lift them high enough to send a text message if she's farsighted. Interesting choice. Mary Jane's. If I wanted shoes like that, I'd just buy Doc Martens. This looks like a Kingdom Heart character. But, you know, the emphasis on the flappy panel is very emphasized. Finally, a tailored, finished look. I feel like, you know, that's really nice because it kind of reminds you what the Maison Margiela is capable of. It's almost finished. The cinched waist on that is crazy. And then the second to last look is, these two are my favorite looks of the collection. I feel like it actually builds up to these. This is perfect, frightening, hyper, sexless, spooky, buzz cut, pale, whatever you want to make of that, vaguely skinheadish, neo-fash neutrality. And after the visual pain that we were put through by the rest of the collection, looking at this little cocoon and then this big no-arm jumpsuit that follows are so refreshing. Like, it's like a sip of champagne. Yeah. So do I have any more to say regarding the poodle or the no arms or the print? Not really. But here's what I meant earlier when I said we would be seeing a mirrored image of the show as a summary walk, and we're also seeing, look back to that those feathers and feather boa, these crazy ensconced armless looks, and the only part of the models we can actually see are their feet, thus emphasizing the shoes. If I had to pick one of these pairs of shoes to own, I think I would pick the big, scary blue ones because I really like that color. Yeah, that's my review of the show. Overall, I think because it really took me on a joyride, I like this Couture collection. I really like it. I think it's got an interesting narrative arc, an interesting message, an interesting reading. And yeah, thanks for watching my video. Like and subscribe. I'm gonna do more of these because, you know, I love to get drunk and do these videos. I love doing both of those things. Next, I'm probably gonna post like a shoe review of all the shoes I own. Bye. Also, look at this. Their names are Hagel Channel B and Hagel Channel C. And their sibling is a plant named Hagel Channel A that sits on top of a stereo speaker, the Channel A stereo speaker. And their predecessor is a plant that I killed named Hagel Channel B. I mean, I don't know if I killed it or my roommates killed it, but we do that back I was gone. Thanks.